Welcome to the Shades of Grey podcast with Dr. John Gray, New York Times bestselling author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And now, Dr. John Gray.
Welcome, everybody. Today we're talking about the secret behind the secret. This is something that people have asked me to talk about quite a bit because many people read the book, The Secret, and they get great. They're very optimistic, they're very positive and whatever, and then they kind of go, why is it not working for me? And certainly some things are working, some things are not working. So let's analyze why it works for some people, why it doesn't work for others. And what I'm referring to, The Secret Behind the Secret, is the book that came out. Well, first it was a video, and I was in that, a little movie with a bunch of my friends who all are in the personal growth movement. And we all teach. Part of what we teach is, positive thinking, manifesting what you want in life, creating what you want in life, creating the life that you want, to improve your life, to get better, to grow, to be healthier, to be more vibrant, to make a difference in the world. This is all part of the personal development movement. And it's always been around. I mean, it just takes different forms. Many of the ideas in the book, The Secret, mirror the ideas of New Thought Church, which happened around 1900. The Church of Religious Science and Unity Church. These are, a group of people that came along and said all religions are good and God is good and didn't have a lot of dogma, except they realized that we have the creative power within us to determine our future. And we have something called free will. And this is the whole human condition, is that we can choose to go in a direction that's going to produce a good fruit, so to speak, to produce the results that we want, or we make choices, or our thinking or our feelings end up creating problems. And, life is not so simple. Life is complicated. But when you break it down to pieces, each piece has to be simple. And the whole idea of what the popular book, The Secret, talks about is one of those packages. And that is that you affect reality. And I think, although I would say physicists don't always agree with the ideas of The Secret, they're talking about, at a quantum level, consciousness affects reality. And certainly we all know that with my consciousness. I mean, first of all, think about a thought. Can you touch a thought? Can you see a thought? No, it's abstract. It's non-physical. So there's a physical reality and there's a non-physical reality. And my thoughts are definitely controlling my arms. My thought controls my arm. My thought controls my arm. So, and when I'm talking to you guys, when I share my thoughts, my ideas, they have an effect on you. Certainly, we all have an effect on others. And energetically, you can feel the effect of other people. Some people say, I just listened to you for 20 minutes and I just feel good because I'm speaking truth. You're connecting with me. It's having a coffee with somebody. Kaylor, thanks for joining us today. Everybody coming into the talks. The talk today is The Secret Behind the Secret. And what I'm referring to in terms of The Secret is that Secret, a very popular book and movie, which I was also in. And what's interesting is that all my friends are in there and so forth, but I think I'm one of the shortest portions, because when I was talking about The Secret, how to manifest your desires, how to make your dreams come true, how to improve your life. It's never just about, changing your frequency inside. That's one part of it. The whole idea is like attracts like. Now, for me, what's so interesting is when it comes to relationships, like attracts like in terms of friendships. But when it comes to romantic passion, if you want passion in your life, if you want aliveness, you want to grow together in love, over time, personal development, it's opposites. Opposites are attract. So, it's not just one thing in life. It's this, when I look at relationships, I see that the whole idea, if you want somebody who's not the same as you want somebody who's different from you, that creates the attraction. But also to have similar values, like attract likes. That's what, the idea there is, that you have a same sort of value for life and what you value, what's most important to you. So you could be two people who are politicians and they're on different sides, but they both value politics. People can, with my wife Bonnie, we both valued spiritual development, but her process was very different from mine. And that was all fine. People can value personal growth and development. Other people don't necessarily value that, but they value love. And I always talk about for women, one of the big challenges I talked about my last talk was you can't make a man your girlfriend. There's certain conversations that you have with a girlfriend that you're not going to have with your husband. I was just having that conversation with my wife this morning, and she was sharing, about her son, and her son is a stepson for me, so it's how the boy is feeling neglected by his real father, and having some conflicts there, and she's sharing the feelings he's having and their conversations they're having, and I'm listening, and she says, and then she started talking about when I die, how could she ever find another man where she could have such deep conversations? I go, you only have deep conversations with me because I'm a therapist. This is my thing. Not all men are going to be therapists. Not all men are going to have deep conversations. And I'll tell you, statistically, I don't know the difference between when it comes to therapy as opposed to psychiatrists, which is a form of therapy. Back in the day, before they had antidepressants, the number one women who went into a mental hospital were married to psychiatrists because they're always analyzing the woman and making her feelings wrong, which it's typically will happen even to this day, is that if you're married to a therapist, they always want to sort of improve you and point out to you what's wrong with you, as opposed to going to a counselor who's going to do that and you pay them to do it and you can leave them, you can take their points of view or not, you don't have to live with them. What I had to learn with Bonnie was definitely, if I want a happy wife, I'm not her therapist. But I can listen like a therapist learns to listen, but I don't give advice. Okay, that's a very key thing men have to learn with their wives, is you can't always sort of be the one standing above. There's a whole dynamic of, I've given talks on this as well, is one of the reasons, one of the healthy reasons why women complain in life is talking about problems actually lowers their stress levels. If women can talk about problems, their estrogen levels go up if they feel heard. The key thing is women have to feel heard. And when do women not feel heard, and they need to feel heard, is when there's problems. So that's why talking about problems is so important. Thanks for joining, continuing to share this wisdom with the world. And Eric, thanks for joining us again. Good morning, and thanks everybody for coming in. Let me know who's here. How does like attract like play a role in the first stage of dating of attraction? Yeah, it's not like a like. It's going to be in the dating, there has to be differences. And that's where we get caught up in dating, is we think we want somebody who also has the same habits as us. And that's good. There's similarities. That gives you a sense of connection of we're alike. But that need is primarily fulfilled by women spending time with women. And be unrealistic to expect a man to understand all your feelings and be deep thinking about, well, let's talk about this and what my feelings are and what I think about this. A lot of men aren't therapists, but they earn a living. They're going to fix your roof. They're going to fix the toilets. They're going to carry out the trash. They're going to solve disputes. They're going to carry the heavy loads. They're going to feel responsible for you. They're going to be monogamous, and they'll be devoted to you. Hi from Thatcher, Arizona. Hi, everybody. Cal Stenner. So happy to have you all joining today. Please be sure to like. Please be sure to follow whatever medium you're listening through, and share with friends. Let's help to get this out to more people. I realize that I probably have to start doing advertising. I'm talking to my producer here, on YouTube. When other people like me speak, people advertise a spot up there so people can know that I'm around. A lot of people are surprised when they know I'm doing stuff. They think, oh, I thought he retired and so forth. I did for a while back off from all the relationship stuff because I focused on health and had a health food store and everything. And I basically focused on that because I had health issues. I had early stage Parkinson's. And so I had to focus on that. And I learned all about it. And I realized that the things that helped me heal Parkinson's were the things that make you a better relationship person. It's amazing. One of the big challenges in relationships is is ADD, and it shows up as overwhelm in women, and it shows up as hyperfocus in men, and procrastination. And so the very supplements that can help with ADD can improve your relationship, and then your relationship can improve your ADD. But today our focus is on the secret behind the secret. So the reason why in the movie I was the shortest is because I was sharing about the importance of asking and receiving. That's the whole point of The Secret. Ask, believe, and receive. That's the essence of it. Ask, make sure you know what you want, and then be open to receiving, and then you have to believe, okay? That's trusting. This is why teaching women, the whole art of attraction is feminine energy. That's why manifestation is not just attraction. It's also you got to take action. You have to attract opportunities, and then you have to take action to make use of those opportunities. And that's the balance of the masculine and feminine inside of us. And that's the secret behind the secret, is that you can't just open your heart to receive. You have to know what you want. That's your masculine side. You have to know what you need. That's your feminine side. And then you attract opportunities, and then your masculine side gives you the motivation to take action, to take risks, to put yourself forward, to make your dreams come true. But in order to continue fueling your success, you have to have both. You have to take action, and you have to also be feeling grateful. The whole idea of like attracts like is you want to feel abundant. So if you don't feel abundant, then what happens? You're focusing on what you don't want. You tend to continue getting what you don't want. And this is one of the good ideas and The Secret. Now, here's where we go to the secret behind the secret. You cannot know what you want. Okay, take this. This is like not in that book. It's not, I also wasn't talking about it as well. Let me focus on don't want. Let's get to that in a moment. But the reason why mine was so short is because I was also talking about, when they filmed me, and for relationships, the secret of relationships and so forth. And it is, you have to ask, and you have to trust, and you receive. This is everything for women. That's the female side of it. And men have to be open to create safety for women to ask. And then you have to know how much to ask for, okay? So you don't, in your job, you don't go and say, I want a raise, I want double the money for my raise. And if you don't give me that, I'm unhappy. You can say, what I want is double the money. What can I do to earn that amount of money? Okay, so then you're taking responsibility for creating more. What can I do to get paid more? But if somebody comes to me and says, I'm just not getting paid enough, I want to get paid double, I say, well, I can't pay you that, so probably find another job. And then if then I don't even want them around me if they're wanting more money than I can give to them. I feel like if you want more and you think you can get more, go get it. But I don't want somebody who's resenting working with me. And the same thing happens in relationships. If women suddenly want what's unrealistic, and then they're going to resent not getting what they want. And when they resent not getting what they want, the man will naturally back off. He just, how can I be successful in this relationship? And ultimately, this is what it's all about for men, is to feel that I make a difference in my wife's life. I'm significant. So we all have a need for significance. And my significance is that I make a difference in her life. She needs to feel significant. And her significance is he cares about me, he loves me, he wants to take action for me, he'll do his best for me. And from the man's point of view, I'm going to do my best, and my best is good enough. And it's just we need to be reminded of these things as we get caught up in focusing on what we don't want, and that's called complaining as opposed to asking. Asking with trust. But believing is another word. Having faith is another word that's used. I don't use the word have faith so much because people will misinterpret that to mean they have faith in your religion. And that's a separate story altogether because there's different religions. So which should you have faith in? It's just have faith that right now I'm in the process of attracting into my life the opportunities that I want. I'm in the process right now. I'm in the process of attracting opportunities to create abundance in my life. Right now I'm in the process of receiving more and more money. Right now, I'm in the process of creating a life that attracts more and more money. So this is the magic phrase. This is the secret behind the secret, is right now I am. But to get to what I am and authentically feel your connection with I am, it's a challenge for people. That's called self-realization, is to know that right now I am lovable, I am worthy, I am good enough, I'm in the process of creating more and more and more. Anytime that you are upset, anytime that you're experiencing stress hormones in your body, if you're experiencing stress hormones in your body, then what's happening in your brain is that I am not in the process of creating a life of abundance and love. I am not having the support that I need in my life to create an abundance of life, of money and success and happiness and health. Right now, I'm not in that process. So now you're focusing on negativity. And when you focus on negativity, you get more and more negativity, unless, here's the secret behind the secret, which is when you focus on negativity, if you avoid focusing on negativity, which is I don't have enough money to pay my bills this month, then I'm in denial. I'm in fantasy land. And reality is, what am I right now? Well, I'm in the process of learning to attracting the funds to pay the bills that I can't pay right now. Okay, so I'm in the process. I didn't come up with this idea. This is old from earlier books written in the 20th century. But it's a magic phrase that I use again and again and again in my affirmations, because it's always totally believable. If you just say, I'm rich and abundant and deeply in love with my perfect partner, but you're single and you can't pay your bills, your brain's going to go, yeah, but, and you'll go into doubt, and you'll constantly be fighting your doubts and your disbelief. What you want is to be in a state of belief, let your life, the energy flow through you into the world, which comes from an I amness. Just watch The Secret and you saw me. Yes, somehow when they did me, the lighting was perfect, so I look really, really good. I always say, I didn't get a long section, but I certainly look good. Playful response. But the reason they left me out is in that I was talking about the importance of what I'm saying now is looking at what you don't want in order to know what you want. You know, the clarity, and they talk about clarity is so important for manifesting. I mean, you can't attract what you want until you know what you want. Okay, the idea you have to know what you want and ask for it. Ask for help. Ask for support. Call into the universe. If you have angels, call your angels, or just simply be thinking, how do I get this? How do I get this? You know, this is bringing it to a scientific point of view. It's the reticular activating system in the brain. As soon as you're looking for something, as soon as you say, I want something, your brain will start seeing it everywhere. What was it? Well, my daughter's car, I was looking for my daughter's car, and suddenly I saw a whole bunch of other cars that were like my daughter's. Rarely do I see that. When you buy a new car, suddenly you'll see a car like yours everywhere. When I was when Apple computers first came out, and my assistant told me, you should get a computer to write. And I said, okay, where are they? And she laughed at me. She says, this is back when it first came out. They were in grocery stores. The little Apple computers were everywhere. Apple, 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 big signs everywhere. I hadn't noticed them. I hadn't seen them because my brain wasn't looking for them. But as soon as you say, I want something, your brain will start looking for opportunities. When your brain says, I don't want something, your brain will keep focusing on reasons why you don't have what you want. Our brain will tend to always want to be right. And this is what happens in our relationships, is when we have stress during the day and we suppress our feelings, those feelings of dissatisfaction. When you're not getting what you want, when you're getting what you need, there's dissatisfaction. So when you're feeling that dissatisfaction, and you're pushing it down to act as if everything is fine, even you're practicing The Secret. Let me be abundant. I'm getting paid abundant. I'm happy with my job. I love the people I work with. But inside, you're stressed. So if you're stressed, there's negative emotions. I'm frustrated with my job. What happened that makes me frustrated? I'm disappointed. I didn't get what I was expecting. I'm afraid. I'm not getting I'm going to get what I want, and I'm not getting the support I need. I feel embarrassed that, I don't have as much as this person, or they're getting more than me. And so to avoid my feelings of embarrassment, I feel jealous. And by the way, the number one thought that's going to keep you from ever getting what you want is getting stuck in jealousy. Oh my gosh, that was a really big hurdle for me in my life, is to be jealous of other people. And when you do have jealousy, it blocks, anger blocks. All these negative emotions are focusing on what you don't have. They're focusing on what you don't like. They're focusing on what you don't want to happen. So when you focus on what you don't want, your brain will tend to focus, will attract situations to make you feel right. Your brain always wants to justify itself. So when you suppress feelings from the day, those feelings of dissatisfaction, basically, concerns, worries, doubts, and whatever, we'll just call that stress. But the emotions of stress I just talked about. This is so true. Keeping gratitude journal helps so much too. Yes, and we're going to get to that. But part of being grateful, okay, just look at life experience. I went through a big financial loss, and then I started making money again. I was so grateful for the money. But when I had so much money, I just took it for granted. We take for granted what we have. This is a rule of life, which is when you have something and you expect it and it's routine, we habituate and we no longer can feel our appreciation. We can no longer feel our gratitude. It's when we're faced with not having what we want, then when we get what we want, oh, the appreciation is so much. When my wife Bonnie died, I was grieving for 2 years, really a lot, and missing her and appreciating what I had, but I don't have now. And then when I fell in love again, my wife asked me, at some point after we got married and so forth, well, who do you love more, Bonnie or me? And my answer to that was, I love Bonnie so much. I've never loved anybody as much. And that opened my heart. And actually grieving, not having Bonnie, opened my heart more. And as I opened my heart, then I said, now you, my new wife, you get the benefit of a guy who has more love, more wisdom, more appreciation, more gratitude for a partner in life. Oh my gosh, how blessed, I feel when I get the love I need. Whereas with Bonnie, to a certain extent, I was taking it for granted. And then once you lose something, the value of what you lost goes up. Now, as a writer, that became so obvious when I was back in the day when computers would crash and I'd lose material and didn't have backup. Whatever I was writing, I might not have even liked it that much, because part of my process is I have to become critical of what I say in order to then improve it. And so what happened then is I would lose something in that stage of where I'm either critical or liking. It didn't matter. But let's just say I was critical of something and I lost it. Immediately I go, that was so great. I don't know if I could replace that again. That was so good. Oh my gosh. So when we lose something, what happens is it causes us to feel our negative emotions. And when you feel your negative emotions, you now have an increased capacity to feel. And when you have an increased capacity to feel, then what happens is now you can feel your true self, and more love, more positivity, more encouragement, more positive beliefs all come up. So a big part of the secret is don't focus on negativity. And that's good, because some people are just focusing all the time on negativity. And I remember watching an Oprah show on The Secret, and these people women had read The Secret, and they said, oh, my relationship got so much better because she just stopped complaining, because that's the number one rule of the idea of being in The Secret is stop complaining. If you hear me, the whole thing is don't complain. And for men, oh my gosh, it's the worst. If a man focuses on negativity and complains, it raises his estrogen and makes him more negative. It's so wonderful for me to be teaching this idea, which is still radical in the world today, where I explain that men, when you're upset, don't talk. Women are all wanting us to talk because women need to talk when they're upset. But don't talk to the person who upset you. If you talk to the person who upset you, they're just going to get defensive and you're going to get more upset. So this is what happens in HR and companies, where you have a complaint, you go to HR and you're upset, and you will stay upset until the problem gets solved. So if your upset is depending on problems being solved, then you're going to stay upset. But if you learn the secret behind the secret is that when you look at what you don't want, what you don't like, what you don't have, if you focus on that, because there's always something we want, we're not always getting what we want. We always don't have everything we want. We're not getting everything we need. When you're able to focus on that, you create a space, you create a void, you create a vacuum inside yourself that just pulls in the positivity. But you have to then be open to receiving the positivity. So ask, in a sense, if we shorten it down to ask, believe, and receive, you ask is I want, I need, help me. You're opening up for support. You've got to open up for support. And in that place of vacuum, you have to believe And they say that's the hard part. and then receive, of course, they say is the easy part. Actually, it's not. And we'll get into that as well. People can only receive so much, because once you start to receive more, then all of the unresolved issues from your past that were produced when you didn't have more, like you feel like I'm not good enough, now you get a message that says I am good enough, then the feelings that you had when you were experiencing I'm not good enough, they'll start to come up. And when they start to come up of not good enough, but I am good enough, and so you're even more angry at people who don't treat you well. and what comes along with not good enough is, of course, fears of not being loved, not being good enough. There was a big thing for a while, the imposter syndrome. They started finding out that all these successful people were feeling like imposters, is that they really didn't deserve what was coming their way, and then they unknowingly sabotage. See, this is it. You have to be able to fully receive, and that's part of the secret, which talks about don't focusing on what you don't want, but focusing on what you have. Be grateful. Gratitude is so key, but to fully feel gratitude, to fully feel appreciation, to fully feel trust, to fully feel capable, to fully feel confident, to fully feel compassion, which is what motivates us in life. You have to fully feel that you're connecting with who I am. You have to experience that I amness, and that's a very important element. And so what would it be is you look at first what you don't want, what you don't like, what you don't have, and you experience the emotions of that. Because who is it that's being emotional? What is it that's being emotional when you're having negative emotions? It's you. It's your soul is producing these negative emotions. It's basically saying that, let me see what this is. So just focus on my health journey in a positive way. We're getting there. Okay, so the idea of the positive journey is to embrace the negative side of you and love it to bring you back to the positive side of you. Think of a child crying, and the child is crying. Don't try to talk the child out of crying, but understand the child is crying. And so the child is experiencing crying. Okay, they're in fear, they're in terror. And what they need at that time, they don't have a brain, you can't logically solve anything. They're an emotional part of their brain. Logic doesn't work at all. They will reach to you, they will ask, they will always do that. I've got this, working on all the positive changes in me. Yes, Gigi. I've got these two little dogs that my wife got, and they're so cute because my big dog is there, doesn't know what to do with them. And they keep jumping up. They keep jumping up. They're asking, they're playing, they're open. They haven't yet been shut down or hurt or whatever. So they're just open. And this is what my little granddaughter does. She'll start to cry about something, and she'll cry, and then she reaches out. She wants to be held. Why she knows to be held and why she reaches out, because someone was there. If someone's not there for you to hold you, after a while, it'll be too painful and you go into denial. This is what happens with orphans who get put on the step of the orphanage. Okay, these children often don't want to be touched, ironically, because when they needed to be held, somebody didn't hold them. And so then when you try to hold them, they push you away, because it's too painful to feel the pain of the past. It's like PTSD, but for a little child. It's like, if I need to be held and I don't get held, then it's too painful to not get what I need. So the brain goes into repression and suppresses that pain. And so now if somebody wants to hold you, you start to get what you need. That part of you that actually needs that and didn't get that pain starts to surface, and to not feel the pain, to avoid the pain, you push away the very thing that you need. So this is the paradox of life, but so you ask and you receive. And then if you're receiving what you want, then the negative thoughts associated with not having what you want will start to emerge into your consciousness. That's one aspect of it. Again, there's many pieces to this. Another piece to this I didn't finish a moment ago, which is if you're in stress at work and you're suppressing your feelings about work, you will come home and those feelings will start to come up. But when they come up, they don't identify themselves as feelings from the day. They identify themselves as just as general feeling of dissatisfaction, anxiousness, unhappiness, depression, low energy. It's just blocked, and low energy is blocked emotion. So when emotion is energy flowing, blocked emotion, we're stagnant, we're tired, or we're negative. It goes the other way. And so when you come home, then what happens is your brain in that suppressed state focuses on reasons to feel what you feel. What you have to do is be conscious and find other reasons to feel what you feel other than your partner. Find other reasons to feel what you feel other than yourself. Find other reasons to feel what you feel other than the way you look, for example, or your house. I give this example over and over because if ever I'm suppressing feelings, if ever I'm in a state of stress, and when you are in a state of stress and you're not feeling your negative emotions, you're suppressing them. So if I come home, there's a lot of stress, and if I'm not really handling my emotions correctly, if I'm suppressing them, and men typically don't suppress as much as women. If men are in a cortisol state, in a high stress, men will suppress. But if it's just normal daily stress, frustration, disappointments, we generally don't suppress those at all. You just have to produce some testosterone in your cave, and they're gone. It's handled. Because all stress emotions are due to hormonal imbalance, the mental state that produces hormonal imbalance, or the relationship that you're in, or the lack of relationship that you're in, or the way you're interpreting your relationship becomes a major cause of hormonal imbalance. I like all your comments coming in. This is wonderful. I always knew to do this with children, which made me incompatible with all educational systems. Yes. But why do I not know how to do this to myself to receive more abundance? Yeah, absolutely. So you have the awareness. Like one of my clients, she's a wonderful woman, and she basically doesn't nurture herself. She's really, really hard on herself. Her mother was really, really hard on her. A lot of dysfunction in her childhood. There was no real abundance of love. Okay, so that's not something she feels worthy of. So she creates a school for little children, and she gives them all this love. She's giving all this love. And part of why she's doing that is on some healing level. She's giving her own inner child, the love, treating them with the love that she needed and didn't get. Now, having said that, to consciously be aware of that, you accelerate the growth process. By you look at these little children, you realize, gee, that's how I used to be until my mother mistreated me. And you now go back and you can feel the negative emotions of being mistreated. You feel them, and that's what you don't like. That's what you don't have. That's what you don't want. And that's gives rise to disconnection from your true self, of who you are. Because how do you know who you are? You know who you are when you're getting what you need. If I need love and someone gives me love, then how do I feel? I feel lovable. That's the truth. If someone appreciates what I did and that appreciation comes in, I say, well, how do I feel when I'm being appreciated? I feel good enough. You see, it's the external world. It's the external world that allows us to know ourselves at a certain part of development, and it's a big part of our development always, but for the one part of our development is to receive love and support from others. No man is an island. In my meditation, I also learn, to be very self-sufficient and very fulfilled within myself. But it's a foundation for the higher level of fulfillment I experience through being in a loving relationship and having family and having my children and having a sense of responsibility throughout my life, that I care for others, having a reason to be here in this world. And some people, their destiny is to be a monk, but they do service. They're always, in some role. They go and they do their special meditations and whatever, like I did. And then you find the goodness of who you are. And then you can't be happy unless you're now sharing that with other people and you're helping other people. It doesn't always have to be by teaching spirituality. For me, it was teaching what I really needed to learn, which I had to have a relationship in this stressful world. I didn't really understand why people had problems and so forth in relationship. I never saw my parents having problems in relationship. And so the secret behind the secret is that you always want to focus on what's good, but you want to also be truthful to yourself about what's not good. See, so the glass is always going to be half full. Okay, you can focus on the glass is half full or the glass is half empty. You can look at it either way. But the truth is, I'm grateful for what I have, and there's more to receive. Okay, so there's basically, don't just focus on the half full. Don't just focus on the half empty. Look at both. And what's so interesting is the way our brain is designed, our left prefrontal cortex, right prefrontal cortex. This is the governing part of the brain. This is your adult self. This is a part of you that has free will. This is a part of you that can create your reality, that can manifest your reality. Without free will, we are reaction. We will stay in the same reality that we were born into. So we're born into a reality the way our parents are, the way our situation is. We'll just continue that momentum going on and on and on, being reactive without sort of changing anything, without any big development. The big development happens by choosing with free will to do something different. And you can't do something different unless you see something different. See, that's another side of this. This is why it's so important to read books, take classes, learn things, have mentors. All that is to see another way of doing it. If you don't have another way of doing it, you'll just have your own, you'll be reacting to the way your parents did. You know, if somebody disappoints your mother and she feels like a victim, then you feel disappointed, you'll feel like a victim. If somebody frustrates your dad, or your mother gets mad at your dad and he gets really angry and storms off, then you're going to get angry and storm off. Okay, it's all just you're reacting what you've experienced as a child. It's all just reacting. It's only getting into the prefrontal cortex where you can have a choice. You can say, I could react this way, or I can respond to the situation differently from the way I'm programmed to do. And so what responses do we want to create? We want to create responses that make us feel good, that make us feel loved, that make us feel positive, that make us feel successful, and to create success in our lives. So the secret behind the secret is that if you're just thinking positive all the time, you're pushing down the negative emotions. Negative emotions are a part of who you are. And to push them down just causes your brain to focus more on what you don't want, and you're in this battle all the time going, I'm trying to be positive, I'm affirming, I'm positive, I'm affirming, I'm positive. And I don't have a problem with affirmations, but have your affirmation when you're feeling positive to affirm the positive. But when you're feeling negative, amen, thankful for mentors. When you're feeling, thank you so much, Gigi. When you're feeling negative, don't deny it, because if you push it down and you don't process it and you don't know how to process it, which is to feel what you don't like, okay, be aware, what is it I don't like? You know, everybody's saying, which is great, you know, one of my friends, Jack Canfield, we started out together in a support group and ended up creating the biggest selling books in history. So it was a big deal during the 90s. Well, Jack will say, you know, with his students, you should be able to write down what you want. Write down 100 things that you want. What I want, what I want. And what it is just training to listen to yourself. Listen to the part of you that says, I want. A lot of people think the law of attraction is about acting like you have everything you want, but you don't. So if you don't feel your desire to get more, you don't get more. But you also have to look at, when I'm wanting more, can I also be patient? Can I also have faith? So how do you find that faith that you can have more? The way you find it is you connect with your soul, which knows that you deserve more, knows how to create more, can organize the intelligence of the universe, if you think of it that way, to support you in having more. Many different ways of looking at this. But you have to focus on, if you want more, then you have to now listen to, and how do I feel when I don't get more? Do I pretend like it's always going to be happening and I'm peaceful and good? And yet what happens is we go into a denial state of what we're actually feeling on an emotional level. And that means we have to be able to feel our anger, feel our sadness, feel our hurt, feel our disappointment, feel our frustrations. And that's like an awareness for positive people. So it's interesting. Some people are like really positive and they go with the secret, but then they complain, why is it not working for me? Or it's taking so long for me, or it's not happening. And then, of course, then they say, well, that's because you don't believe. Okay, well, how can I keep believing if it's not happening? So it's a challenge, a big, very challenging thing. So rather than depend on the outer reality to have your confidence, what you do is you process your negative feelings and come back to who I am. And who you are is I am loving, I am grateful, I am happy, I am fulfilled, I am motivated. I am in the process of creating the life I dream of. I'm in the process of selling those books. I'm in the process of succeeding in my business. I'm in the process of marketing my company better. I'm in the process of drawing out the best in my partner. I'm in the process of finding the perfect person for me. Right now in my life, I am in the process of, and there's no doubting there. There's no like a part of you holding back from that, because your soul knows that's absolutely true. When we women express out our negative thoughts to others who really hear us, that in itself is healing. Yes, because you're not here's another way of looking at it. You're not buying into the reality of your negative thoughts. You're sharing them, you're airing them, you're bringing it out into the light with somebody's consciousness who is feeling, if it's negative, they're able to hold the space of, yes, you feel negative, and I see that you're in the process of letting it go. I understand you're in the process of letting it go. I understand that right now you're feeling, I hate my husband, and in a few minutes you'll be loving him tomorrow, okay? This is the reality of relationships. One of the things I watched with Tony Robbins when he was processing people in one seminar, I used to teach at his big events and everything, and I watched him processing someone, and he goes out there, he says, okay, give me a woman who hates and loves her husband, okay? Because that's somebody who is in touch with their negative emotions. It's very hard to change the reality of our people's lives if they can't touch into their soul. And ironically, the way to come back to your soul is to become aware of how you're not connected to your soul. When we're not connecting to our soul, the positive side of our soul, okay, when we're not connecting, there's a place of negative emotion. And negative emotion is touching into right at that place where you're connecting to the soul to recognize this is not my soul. This is not my truth. You're aware of your limited thinking at that moment. But what allows you to be aware that you're limited thinking is starting to connect with the part of you that says, that's a lie. You feel I'm not good enough, and my soul says, but you are good enough. So what's my experience in that moment to be able to feel that, to be aware of the part of me that's not good enough, and I feel I am good enough, then I will feel sad. If I feel like I'm not good enough and my soul says you're not good enough, I won't feel anything, numb. And the positive feeling doesn't emerge. It's the positive feeling is the letting go of the negative feeling. It's another way of looking at it. Let me read this for a second. The few times I've been lucky to hear you always present all the most interesting paradigms and understanding. Thank you, InnerTube TV. It's the awareness that my thought is limited is connecting with my soul. But it doesn't mean the thought's going to change right away. What happens is when you're aware that my thought is limited, there's a negative emotion associated with that. That's what sadness is. Sadness is basically your soul telling you your thinking is too limited. And when your thinking is correct, I'm going to give you positive feelings. And then you have these positive feelings, and life is positive for a while. And then problems will start to keep coming up because we're growing. The way you grow muscle, it's a good example, is growing muscle is you challenge the muscles. You have to lift a heavier weight. You get a problem to solve. If you don't have any problems to solve, you just simply go down. If you have no problems to solve in yourself, you go down. Or here's what I have learned, is that if you solve the problems of other people, if you're helping other people, then you're not thinking about your own problems. You're growing by helping other people rather than just always growing on yourself. I do a balance of both. I have my own self-healing. I think, when you look at this book that I have all about, my version of secret is how to get what you want and want what you have. Because in here, it's all about knowing what you want, okay? And then looking at what are the obstacles to getting to what you want. And before you can actually get to that, which most people miss out on, is knowing the difference between what you want and what you need. Okay, so what you want and what you need. Is that your basic needs, and I talk about all of our basic needs that we have, and based on those needs, then what we want is support to fulfill those needs, or to take action to do what's required to fulfill those needs. And so once we get to that, then we look at how to process the negative emotions that will come up when you get in touch with what you want. You have to feel what I want. There's a big thought out there, which is if you're constantly feeling what you want, then you're focusing on what you don't have, because that's what to want is, to not have something. But you can't have more unless you first focus on what you don't want. And so you feel that vacuum, and then you have to take action or believe, and taking action is belief. There's it's just like, it's like ease and comfort, but you have to put forth effort. Effortless ease, effort with ease. Like right now, I'm efforting to put these ideas out here, but it's very easy. I'm doing both at the same time. As a writer, there's places where you do struggle to get the right words, and then it comes about. So struggle is a part of life. It's the whole idea of the butterfly. Starts out as a worm, and then it builds a cocoon around it, and then it evolves, and it bursts out of the cocoon, and it struggles to break out of the cocoon. And if you were to cut the cocoon and the butterfly comes out without the struggle, the butterfly will die because it can't fly. Because it's the struggle to get out of the cocoon that gives you the strength to fly. And so life is just a process of coming through another cocoon and coming through another cocoon and coming through another cocoon. And that struggle, what is that struggle? Is it suffering? Do you have to sit and stuck in suffering? It's a kind of suffering. I call it pain. Life has pain, pleasure and pain. But suffering is optional. Suffering is where you recognize I'm in pain, and what's causing my pain is my negative beliefs. And by upgrading my negative beliefs to more positive beliefs, then I can no longer cause pain to myself. So the whole idea here, and then I can avoid feeling that in the future and be more stabilized in a place of authentic self, which is loving and positive and supportive. So the secret behind the secret is giving yourself the awareness of what I want and also the awareness of what I don't want. And taking time to focus on what I don't want helps clarify what we do want. And with that clarity of what we do want, then the interior activating system in the brain, when we're focusing clearly on what we want with confidence and with belief, then what happens is the brain will start looking for the opportunities and attract people in the same situation as you in order to support you as you support them. So this is the reticular activating system in the brain gets activated when you're very clear about what you want. And looking at it from another point of view, for men particularly, the male side of it is knowing what you want and having goals. Okay, so you see, goals are really important. I want this, I'm setting a goal, and I'm going to take action to achieve it. This is very important for men because that's what raises your testosterone, is when you're choosing to take action to achieve your goals. If my goal is to help everybody in my talk and spread the word that I'm here in this world to share, and more people to buy my books and to hear this message and improve relationships in the world, if that's my goal, then this is what I have to do, and I choose to do what I have to do. If I have no goal and somebody says, John, you have to do this, I'm going to go, well, why do I have to do that? See, that's mission and purpose. You got to have a sense of mission and purpose so that you can choose what you have to do. And that choosing what I have to do, that means not complaining about it, not whining about it, but sucking it up and being a man and doing what you have to do. Then what that is that builds testosterone. And the same metaphor as that is, you're lifting a heavy weight and you do suffer, or it's painful. Okay, either one. You can be, I don't want to really be doing this, and that's suffering, or this is hard, this is painful, but it only lasts a short period of time, and then I feel great. And so this is the idea of having to look at the negative and coming back to the positive. So we don't want to avoid feeling our negative emotions. And it's our negative emotions that force us to feel, okay? So they're the easiest ones to feel, but because, see, the truth is children feel all the time, but once our feelings aren't heard, then they get suppressed, then we learn to push down our negative feelings about life. Okay, so when you push down negative feelings about life, you decrease your ability to feel. And if you decrease your ability to feel, then you're decreasing your ability to feel your positive virtues. And so this is just the way life is. So it's this positive and negative. And I was mentioning in the prefrontal cortex, the governing part of our brain where we have free will, the left one tends to focus on the positive and the right one tends to focus on the negative. It's like right built into our biology is that we want to be just as much as we want to focus on what to appreciate, what we like, what we don't like, and all that, is to look at the negative side of life. And so I'm gonna ask Rich. Now, Rich is the main teacher of our coaches from Mars Venus Coaching, and he's here by phone. And one of our big things in coaching is to create clarity in people so that they clearly know what they want, and then they can take action to do that. And for women on the other side, knowing what they want is important, but also knowing what they need. Knowing what they need is a key factor here for the feminine side of us to receive. Need is what we need, and desire is what we have to do to get what we need. So we have the male and female sides of us. Balance, which is I have this need and I'm taking action to get what I need. And the key factor for women in relationships when you're needing more love and support from your partner, it's the secret is fantastic. This whole idea of ask for what you want, but ask what is realistic. And ask with belief, with trust, as opposed to, I am only asking for this. Can't you just at least give me this? As opposed to, hey, would you do this for me? That's a trusting request. And you start out with little requests. So in our coaching, what we do is clearly help people define in their lives all the different needs that they have and what it is that they're wanting and be clear about that. So then you can see, okay, how are they not doing what it takes to get what they want? And that's where our Mars-Venus knowledge comes in, particularly when it comes to relationship and particularly when it comes to managing stress in our lives. Because you can't manifest what you want in life when you're in a stressed state. Just can't. It's not going to happen. You're in a place of resistance. And one of the key factors in life, one of the universal rules that's indisputable is what you resist will persist. When you push out, the world pushes back at you. So you have to open up. But where you are resisting, you have to now stop resisting, is to resist, stop resisting feeling your resistance. Okay, that's the key to that. You stop resisting feeling what your resistance, because all negative emotions are resistance. And by embracing your negative emotions, you neutralize the negativity, that you neutralize the negative belief that's causing those negative emotions. You're embracing it. Just like with the child who's crying, you don't try to talk them out of it. You just hold them and let them experience that you're at peace, that they're safe. If mom and dad are feeling relaxed and peaceful and loving, then everything's okay. And that's that peaceful feeling that comes in and brings them back to their soul. Everything's okay. I am loved. I'm lovable. I'm in a good situation. I can have what I need. I like what I have. I'm grateful and happy. Okay, Rich, so I want you to take a few minutes talking about how we, as Mars-Venus coaches, how we start out by helping people achieve clarity and then being able to process the blocks that keep them from being clear.
Sure, John. First of all, it's kind of interesting because it's exactly what you were just talking about. We teach our coaches in your program, your coaching program, first and foremost, a client needs clarity. And many times we have to start when we say, what do you want? They go, well, I don't want this and I don't want that. And so they start talking about all the things they don't want. And so we start with that and we turn it upside down. So what do you want? I have a gal that said to me, I said, how's your relationship? Well, my husband comes home and all he does is yell at me. I said, okay, what do you want him to do? I want him to stop yelling. Well, that's not really a vision. So we'll say, okay, you don't want him to yell at you. What actually do you want him to do? And she'll say it again, I want him to stop yelling. That's where our brain automatically goes. And so I'll say, okay, if he didn't yell, what would you want him to do? 3 times. And finally she says, I'd like him to talk nicely to me. Okay, now we have a vision. What are the things we can do to get him to talk nicely to you? We need clarity around what does that actually look like. And I get her to focus on that. I remember this client, I actually said to her, do me a favor. I want you to count how many times he talks nicely to you. Not how many times he yells. That's what you're counting. How many times he talks nicely in a week. She calls me the next week and she says, it didn't really work. He only talked nicely to me 7 times. I said, okay, that's a good start, but let's do this. Let's take your focus even a step further. I want you to buy a little notebook, like a pocket notebook, and every time he talks nicely to you, I want you to do a tick mark, just 1, 2, 3, 4 / 1, 2. The next week she calls me back and says, well, he's been talking to me nicely this week 17 times. Whatever you focus on, you attract in your life. And she was focusing on what she didn't want. So we have an amazing exercise that you created, John. You might not remember 17 years ago with me, called an alignment. And it talks about all the things that you do want. As you said with Jack Canfield, is just list them all to start with. We want to know what you actually want, so you therefore start focusing on it. And what I've noticed as a coach now for 20 years is that most people know what they don't want right off the bat. And when, like you said, you focus on that first, you know what you don't want, and then you flip each one of those. There's 2 types of people I notice. Those that actually admit it. They go, I don't know what I want. And those that say, yeah, I know exactly what I want. I want an amazing relationship with my partner. Okay, what does that look like? I don't know, amazing. That's the problem, is how in which we define those terms dictates whether we're going to get them or not. So it's very important they get a level of clarity. Not just you want an amazing relationship, but what does it look like? Oh, I don't know. Well, what's an amazing morning look like? What's an amazing evening look like? What's an amazing weekend look like? I have to narrow it down so they can then see each piece of that clarity. So therefore, we can start putting a plan together. What are the activities you can do, as you said, John? But we always start off with, really, what does that look like? And the beautiful thing is our brain works in pictures. So if I say the word pink elephant, you don't see you see one, you don't spell it out in your brain. You don't go Pinkele. You just don't do that. So we get them to picture it so that they can start to manifest it. So we can put a plan together of what would an amazing morning look like? What would an amazing afternoon or evening or weekend? And once they start seeing that, like you said, the reticular activating system kicks in. And then the universe actually starts helping them, like The Secret. It won't do that unless you have real clarity on where you're going and what you really want. That's what we teach.
Nicely said, Rich. You do such a good job. And I want people to know, what is our coaching program like? I mean, let's say somebody just wants to master the Mars-Venus material. Can they just become a coach, but maybe they're not doing it as a business or whatever, but they're just going to be a more successful, happy person and help their friends along the way and their children and so forth?
Great question. We actually have 2 courses. One is becoming a Mars-Venus coach, learning all this to help other people and yourself. The other is we just have a gender intelligence course where you don't learn any coaching skills. You just learn to apply it to yourself, your family, your friends. So we accommodate that if you don't want to be a coach.
And how long is that course?
5 weeks.
And what does it consist of?
The coaching course itself, John, is 19 weeks.
Yeah.
5 months. This one is about a month and a half. So it's, 5 consistent weeks, week after, learning about the hormones, learning about how the symphony of all the hormones work together, the brain, how it's wired differently, just things they can use for themselves.
And do they work with you during that time, or is it all on video?
It's all with me. It's live. I don't believe in video. There's video homework that they have to do in between the classes, but that's why we have 100% completion rate. I'm on those calls every single week, teaching them what those videos were in the learning platform.
And those videos, is that me on those videos?
A lot of it is you. I'd say 80%.
Yeah. We're always developing and changing these things. That's why I'm asking these questions. I actually kind of know the answers, but I want people to hear it from you.
It's a great program.
Yeah, it's a really...
And it really teaches that we get testimony. You know what happens a lot of the time, John? They take the 5 weeks, which is a lower cost, and then at the end they go, I think I should be a coach.
Yeah.
I'm going to Teach this to other people.
Those are the people who become coaches, but also the people who've been coached by our Mars Venus coaches also want to become coaches. Is that your experience?
All the time.
Yeah.
They say, I want to do what you're doing. And they say, okay, call Rich. But getting back to clarity, John, coaching is really three things. One is clarity. We spend probably 3-4 weeks on bringing that client clarity. Secondly, once they know exactly what it looks like, then we put a literal program, what we call a 90-day plan together, step by step, of what that client's going to do to make that happen. And then lastly, it's accountability. Is we hold them accountable to doing that plan. And to be honest, clients don't really want results. You know, it might sound counterintuitive. You know what they really want? Progress. Every week, they want progress, whether it's their relationship, their self-esteem, their health, their finances, because we can use the same system on any topic.
That's so good. You know, and our teaching is fulfillment is not achieving everything. Fulfillment is one step towards achieving everything. It's that process. And, you know, and talking about today, the theme is the secret behind the secret is often affirming that right now I'm abundant and wealthy and I have all the love in my life. But if you don't have that, your brain will go, yes, but, yes, but. And that's okay. You do affirmations. You can look at the yes, but then process the yes, but, or just look at your life and be aware of what you're wanting. And when you're not taking that next step, or if you're taking that next step, and then you also begin to feel that I want more, let yourself feel the negative emotions. And that's part of, you know, the benefit of our coaching program for people is to be able to talk about that with somebody. You know, I can only do so much when I do my videos as the information, but it's actually you coaching people, them being able to respond to you, them hearing other people sharing. That's where the real change can happen. I mean, we need to have the knowledge and the direction, but it's the coaching process of being able to bring up your question, bring up your story, hear somebody else's story, and learn from that. That's very, very valuable.
Well, it's also in the planning, because when they get this clarity of what they really want, what it really looks like, and then we craft a plan, that's where their confidence goes through the roof. They see step by step how I can actually get there. And that's what you said earlier, is that belief. You got to have the clarity. And where does the belief come from? A plan.
Belief comes from
this in week 1, this in week 2, this in week 3, I will hit that. Wow.
Exactly. It's
Now
that
I
experience.
really
It's the experience of making a change and getting a result. It's different from your normal results is what builds belief. You know, for me, you know, having a lifetime of teaching these things, bad things happen to me, doesn't really faze me, simply because I know that I will learn a lesson and grow from this, and that life always gets better. Right now, I'm in the process of having more and more in my life. And I also know the journey of that is that blocks will show up. If you want more, then what's holding you back has to show up, and then you overcome that. You move through that. And each of those processes helps you come back to the I am. And the I am is I am worthy, I am good, I am in the process of creating my dreams, I'm in the process of attracting the abundance I want in my life, I'm a single person, I'm in the process of finding someone in my life. And this is the positive side, if I can go a step further with this, because a lot of people are single listening, is dating apps. And I know a lot of people are turned off to dating apps and turned off to dating itself. And depending on who you are, you want to experience, if you want to find a lasting, loving relationship, you want to go on lots of dates. You want to meet different people and go on lots of dates. So you experience what you like and what you don't like. You experience what you want and what you don't want. You experience what you have to give and what other people have to give. It's these three things. And then you come back to, okay, so now I know more of what I'm wanting and that I'm in the process of getting that. And that's a key message to your brain. I'm trying to remember the people that taught me that, but it was like, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. This key thing, and as a coach, one of the things in coaching, always you're dealing with issues and so forth. I always like to finish most of the time my sessions often by coming back to the truth. And the truth is, having explored negative and positive plans of action, achievement, accomplishments, setbacks, is always come back to, and people can know this. Right now in my life, I am in the process of embracing myself, loving myself more. Right now, I am in the process of attracting more and more success in my life. Right now in my life, I'm in the process of discovering what I'm supposed to do. Right now in my life, I'm in the process of drawing in the support I need and appreciating that support and opening my heart more and more. Right now in my life, I'm doing the things that will help me to become healthier and happier, and I'm grateful for that. Then you go into what you're grateful for. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful I can breathe. I'm grateful I have friends. I'm grateful I have a job. I'm grateful I can make a difference. I'm grateful I have wisdom. I'm grateful to God. I'm grateful to this world. I'm grateful for the weather today. I'm grateful I have this show. I'm grateful I can be in this moment. I'm grateful that I'm not alone in this world and I have people who love me and care about me. You see, you get down to all the gratitude, but first you got to acknowledge that I'm in the process of, and to fully feel that and have your feelings be alive. And it's the same thing with sexuality. When couples are having sex, the emphasis that I've always taught is sex. The pleasure of sex is just opening the door to feeling. And what do you want to feel? What you want to feel is more love and to be able to express more love. And that's a whole process of connecting when you can fully be yourself. And in order to do that, you have to also, in other realms of your relationship, feel safe to be yourself. And you also have other realms of your life to be authentically yourself by looking inside yourself and letting go of any negative thoughts and beliefs. Letting go of negative thoughts and beliefs they will be released when you experience the negative emotion that goes with that negative belief. You can identify a negative belief and you can affirm the opposite, and that's good. There's no question that's good, but often that doesn't do it. If you experience a negative belief and then you give yourself the opportunity to feel the negative emotion that's produced by that negative belief, that then brings you back to feeling pain. And when the brain feels pain, the brain heals, the brain transforms. If I have a sore on my arm and if I have pain in my arm, the brain knows, oh, okay, now there's pain there, let's go and heal it. But if I numb that area, the brain can't heal it. And this is why what you feel you can heal, as long as your intention is to feel the negative emotion in order to let it go and come back to what it is you truly want. Because again, life is just this whole process of what I don't want, what I do want. Rich, while you're still here with us, if people are interested in our program, our coaching program, or the personal development program, how can they contact you? What should they do?
Beautiful. First thing I would do is go to MarsVenusCoaching.com. John's website, MarsVenus.com. This is the coaching arm. Go there first. There's a little quiz. See if coaching is right for you. Just take the quiz. It takes about 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, and then it'll automatically come to me, and I'll reach me or one of our team will reach out and just see if it's a good fit. That's what we want to know. And not just if it's a good fit for you. If you're a good fit for us, we want to make sure it works both ways. Because one thing about Mars Venus coaches around the world, they have a shared passion to help people. You've done that, John. You created that community.
Well, thank you. We've got over 1,000 people doing this. It's really quite wonderful.
43 countries, which is amazing.
Amazing. It travels around the world, and we invite more people to join us. And for people who just want to take the course, how much time are they going to spend with you? Or do they spend as a group together with you online? Is that how it works? Are you there, Rich?
Yes, it's online, it's live, and you log in, you'll have other coaches or other people interested in gender intelligence on the call, and you'll get very close with them over the 5 or the 19 weeks. So you log into that, and then after that live class for about an hour, maybe a little more, then you have about an hour of homework. Watching your videos, John, reading some manuals that we put together. So you do have about an hour of homework. So it's a commitment of about 2 hours a week. One for the live class, one for the homework.
So I'm seeing here a question from Brenda. And she's talking about she's feeling depressed, and here it's coming up on the screen, and she takes antidepressants. Let me just say, I'm not going to be a doctor here. I'm not prescribing anything, Brenda. But antidepressants is repressing. It's suppressing. It's pushing things down. If there's anything good to say about an antidepressant, it helps you to repress your anxieties and your stresses so that you can start making changes in your life that will actually make you not need that antidepressant. Now, long before the SSRIs and antidepressants came in, the major thing that was successful in helping people with depression and anxiety was lithium. And it was also particularly helpful for people who had bipolar. But you have to realize bipolar means that you go really high, you become manic, you have these positive thinking, oh, it's all going to work out, this is great, and so forth. But because you think so unrealistically high, then you're going to be disappointed and you're going to be depressed. And so depression is always the result of higher unrealistic expectations. You expect so much, and when it's not possible, when it doesn't happen, then you feel like happiness is impossible and you get depressed. So depression is unstable mood, we'll call it that, and anxiety is unstable mood. It's just different temperaments. It's showing up differently. So what they found is that, well, first of all, I'll tell you what they found is, what they found back in the 40s is that, even before the 40s, is that lithium was something that would stabilize mood. It'd keep you from going too high, which would make you go too low. And it was in Coca-Cola, but more importantly, it was in 7-Up. 7-Up used to be what we have today as Sprite, but what was 7-Up, it was just basically, it has seven molecules or something, arrangement of amino acids or something like that, but it was the scientific value of lithium and to take you up. And basically, they found that in certain places on the planet where the water naturally has this mineral more in the water, that there's less depression, there's less anxiety, and also there's less marital disputes. There's also less therapists in the yellow pages. You can just see that it all depends upon, are you getting enough lithium in your water? Because it's a natural element. Are you getting enough lithium in your food? Now, the truth is we're not getting it in our water, but it hasn't always been in places, unless the water naturally has it, and it doesn't in most places. And it's no longer in the food we eat, because the food is so mineral deficient. Once they start using fertilizers instead of replenishing the soil in the old-fashioned ways of farming, you had to put food back into the soil in order for the soil to have the minerals. We just use 3 minerals, which is I forget what they are, but they're the fertilizers, and you don't need all of the minerals. And so what they found now is that lithium, they've now proven that it is a necessary mineral for our brains to work. Okay, but back in the days, they just knew that at certain mineral springs, people could be depressed, and they would go to that mineral spring that particularly had lithium in it, and the depression would go away. Their sleeplessness would go away. Lithium is like this wonderful mineral that helps balance the dopamine and the serotonin in our brain. It keeps our brain from becoming too stimulated to then become understimulated, that up and down. And so then the SSRIs came out, and they just started numbing the brain. Okay, it's a numbness that happens. You disconnect from your emotions and feelings. What lithium doesn't disconnect you, but it keeps you from generating overreactions, over stress emotions, because you're not going too high or going too low, but it doesn't suppress you at all. I do it every day. Do you think I seem suppressed? No way. I have passion in my life and interest. I have negative emotions. I come back to my positive emotions. I feel passion deeply. And I've been doing the lithium for 25 years in the healthy dose. What they did for when psychiatrists did it, is they were using an inferior form of lithium carbonate. And lithium carbonate doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier so easily, so they had to give 50 to 100 times more. Now imagine taking 50 to 100 times more of anything. You're going to get too much, and then too much then causes side effects. So then it was considered a drug because it produced negative side effects. But take 100 times more sugar than your body needs, and you're diabetic. Okay, so take 100 times more salt than you need, and you're going to have a heart attack. Okay, so basically, 100 times more of anything good is going to become bad. Too much of a good thing is not a good thing. So lithium got a really bad name, and But the only reason they got a bad name is they did studies where they gave people too much and they saw that there was a negative side effect. And this was the side effect that you would get, the negative side effect was close to the amount that the doctors would prescribe, because they had to give too much in order to get some result, because they weren't providing a superior form of lithium, which I have been promoting for 25 years, a major promoter on the planet. It's right there at my website. It's called Lithium Orotate. Now, everybody else is doing it now. Now, I had the experience of doing it for 25 years, so what I found is all the enhancements that will help lithium, with magnesium, but mainly not so much just magnesium. We all need magnesium. But what happens with lithium is good magnesium in your diet. You can get that by eating a lot of almonds, by the way. But what it has in it is other what's called adaptogens. And the adaptogens are rhodiola, which comes from plants that are at high Arctic levels and very cold climates. And you extract this rhodiola from it. It increases your dopamine and serotonin. The lithium then balances that. Then there's other ones, saffron. Saffron, by the way, just taking saffron in 30 milligram extracted doses has been proven to be more effective than antidepressants. And this is all natural. Saffron's just a spice they put in Spanish rice, and you get the concentrated version. So I've got that amount in my product. So I combine these things together which all have stress-reducing effects in the body and work with the dopamine and serotonin of the brain, which is being produced by certain ingredients. Now, there's a whole list of ingredients. I'm not going to go into them all, but they're listed at my website. You can see them. This is not just lithium orotate. This is lithium orotate plus all of these adaptogens that have been known for thousands and thousands of years. And it's just like you rely on tradition. These things really work. And so what you can do is, if you want to stabilize your mood, is take lithium orotate. But not just that. What I was excited about was that I had Parkinson's, early stage Parkinson's, and it was one of the key factors that helped me. But the research even back then, 25 years ago, said that the lithium, if you get it into your brain, actually makes more brain cells. And so I've had a lot of injuries to my head, concussions and all that stuff, and I've had my brain scanned, and it said I was missing some white, more connective tissue. So I was interested in that. That was the precursor to my getting Parkinson's. And this will actually grow connective tissue and brain cells. So this is great fuel for your brain. Also extra benefit, stabilization of mood without any suppression of emotion or feeling. Helps you cope with stress so you don't produce excess negative emotion that you have to process. So all that. So basically what I would say, the secret behind the secret is not only do you have to have all these positive attitudes, process your emotions, have loving relationships in your life, have a life with meaning and purpose, but you've got to have the biology. All of that is a bit of the blueprint. But you got the blueprint for the house, you've got the workers, you've got the equipment, but you got to have the actual bricks. You have to have the mud, you have to have the substance that will build the house. And that is one of the key substances we need is good food, of course. But when we have a sugar diet, when we have a diet that's high in carbohydrates, okay, we get high blood sugar, it goes up. The first thing that happens with high blood sugar is you feel good, right? You eat sugar, you eat a dessert, you eat something that feels good. Anything that makes you feel good and happy, a buzz, a dopamine rush, or any high stress, which is a high dopamine rush, okay? Dopamine goes way up under stress. So any of those situations, high stress or high pleasure, just high, too much, what will happen is you use up your lithium because now you're constantly using your lithium to try to balance the excitement with the peace and calm, the motivation with the love, all these, the balancing of the yin and yang, so to speak. And that's how I guess I became the number one person to promote lithium orotate on the planet for 25 years. It used to be in Wikipedia until they realized that when people saw my name, they would buy more of it because they're always trying to tell you, don't take it, it's dangerous, it's not good, because what the doctors gave you was dangerous and not good or ineffective, but just taking low-dose lithium orotate. It's such an amazing substance. What they found is that in animals, if you deprive them of any lithium, they get Alzheimer's. And they're seeing this in treatment. They're recommending this now at Harvard University after 10 years studying this particular one that I promote, which is the lithium orotate. They're seeing that as a treatment to avoid Alzheimer's as well as to treat Alzheimer's, and they get results. Okay, so this is like new. It's new, happening now. And I'm really excited about this because it was one of the most popular podcasters recently had a man on who wrote a book on lithium orotate. And, this is like great. And the news is out there. Everything I said is in the book, is backed up by that book. What I've been doing for 25 years is that everybody should be taking it. It's just like everybody needs to have some vitamin C in their life. It's an essential mineral. Your body can't make it. It's essential that you get it into your body. And we lose it very, very quickly. So that's important to accept. So along with good coaching, interacting, relationship, accountability, learning how to process your emotions, and focusing on what you want, and also looking at what you don't want in order to more clearly see what you do want. Because anytime you're stressed, you're looking at what you don't like, what you don't have, what you don't want, and you're disconnecting from who you truly are. And by becoming conscious of what you don't like, what you don't want, what you don't have, that's anger, sadness, and fear. Then what happens is you come back to who you truly are, which is what you do love, okay? And what you do have, and what you do like, and what you do want. So using the negative to come back to the positive is the secret behind the secret. So we have a question here. What is your website? And would like a list of what you take in daily doses. I don't want to be on antidepressants or try another one. Now, depending upon how long you've been on an antidepressant, it's very important that the doctor who prescribed the antidepressant should assist you in weaning it. And the way you can do that is you say, your doctor, I'm doing this, and now this has been shown. You can say saffron even. You can say saffron's been shown to be just as effective as any antidepressant. I'd like to start going off of the antidepressant and going on something natural and supportive to me. So there is this research on that. But as far as going off of an antidepressant, most doctors, when you tell them I want to do lithium, all of their training says, oh no, don't do lithium. It's toxic to your system. You have to do a blood test to make sure you don't get too much in your system and whatever. You could take a whole bottle of my lithium orotate and it won't produce too much in your bloodstream. It will give you a stomach ache. You don't want to do it. It's a waste of money. More is not going to be better. It's getting the right dose. Now, some people are thinking just 1 milligram of lithium bonded to orotic acid is enough, and that's the essential amount. But as with all essential amounts, if you're under stress, you need more. So most holistic doctors now, who are now turned on to this, will take 5 to 10 milligrams. 5 milligrams is 2 of my capsules. And if you're under a lot of stress, I would double it. I sometimes double it morning 2, afternoon 2. Sometimes people get a little head pressure because your brain starts being used more than it usually is. So you can take it while you're eating as opposed to an empty stomach. I do it on empty stomach, no problem. But occasionally somebody says they get some head pressure, and that would be just taking it. Now, let's say you're doing double the dose, and you think, well, do I really need to do it? Or maybe for me, that's too much to take. One of the symptoms of your body saying it's a little bit too much, there's no big bad side effect, but you start getting dry mouth, okay? If you're getting a dry mouth, you feel like your mouth getting dry, then cut back the symptom, that's all. It's, it's something, how much do you need? More than what you need is not good, not enough of what you need. And our life, because it's so stressful and we eat so many carbohydrates, a big problem. She also asked, what do I do? Well, I do a lot of things, but another one is berberine. Berberine is very, very important. It's an herb, great for the brain function, and part what it does, it stabilizes blood sugar. Okay, so your blood sugar doesn't go too high and then go down. When your blood sugar goes too high, you're going to experience tiredness. You just, brain fog is something people call today. I'm still trying to figure out what that is. But the brain fog is when blood sugar goes too high, then what happens is free radicals are produced. It's too much. And it then produces inflammation in your brain, and that's brought brain fog. I think maybe the way my body experiences it is I just get tired. So if I eat a meal and get tired, it's because I had too many carbohydrates. The blood sugar went too high, and now the blood sugar is going down. And as the blood sugar goes down, the fuel for the brain is now deficient. You need a nice steady supply of glucose in your brain. And glucose is produced by carbs, and it's also produced by ketones. Ketones will convert into glucose as well. So ketones is when your body burns fat. And so many people do keto diet. And there's no question about it. There's research showing that even bipolar and schizophrenia, even, if you give up all carbohydrates for a while, you won't have schizophrenia. I mean, they just don't want to tell you this, because they want you to take drugs. And it is true that a lot of people who are depressed or anxious, they're going to be addicted to sugar. And it's hard to get off that addiction for sugar. I get it. But it will take away depression. It will take away anxiety, is stay away from sugar. Now, I knew this it was why it's so easy for me when I give a talk, I don't eat that day. Okay, it's so easy for me. It's just a simple thing if I'm going to give a talk, because I know that if I eat like fruit juice, is like pure sugar. If I would have fruit juice before, like say 2 hours before a talk, I would suddenly have all this anxiety. And now I could do it. I don't have anxiety because I emotionally process now. But before I learned to emotionally process, just avoiding sugar before a talk took away my anxiety. And having sugar before a talk would amplify my anxiety, we'll put it that way. And what it does is, as soon as your blood sugar goes up, boom, you're using up your lithium, because your dopamine gets produced too much. Your excitement comes up. Oh, you're really happy at a big birthday party, whatever. So you got a big check in the mail, or something dangerous is there. All of those things stimulate high dopamine. And when your dopamine goes too high, your body uses up the lithium to try to keep balance. And it's a balancing hormone. So this is why, for me, the whole guy who teaches balancing masculine and feminine energies, lithium has been the number one substance. Now, there's other things that I have a cup of coffee in the morning. I like the bulletproof coffee, danger coffee that Dave Asprey, Dave Asprey talks about how most coffees have mold in them, and they cause you to have brain fog, getting mold into your brain. Whereas the Dave Asprey coffee, it's fantastic. He makes sure, he's a good friend of mine. I've known him for 27 years, about 25 years. He used to attend my talks when I was teaching about biohacking for my Parkinson's. And then, of course, he became the master of it. He got so many ideas and so much out there. He's all into anti-aging completely. I just want enough nutrition and support to be healthy and happy, have a libido, love my family, have the energy to love my family, and live a long, healthy life. And supplements can certainly help with that. But you don't want to get too overboard with it. Otherwise, you'll become discouraged. It becomes too much. But berberine is another substance that you can buy, which is fantastic to prevent your blood sugar from going too high, which would then deplete your lithium in the brain, which would then cause imbalance of dopamine and serotonin in the brain, which then results in hormonal imbalance in your body. And just while we're talking about hormonal imbalance, it's just a point to learn again and again. When you're actually in danger, instead of imagining danger, rarely are we actually in danger. We're imagining the future where there could be danger, but we're not actually in danger. And that's part of being a human as opposed to an animal. There's a great book on stress, which is why zebras don't have ulcers, by a Stanford professor. And the whole idea is that a zebra will see a lion and runs. That's a big stress reaction. And as soon as, if it lives and escapes, the stress immediately stops, and they're not worrying about lions again because they don't think about the future in that way. A human being, once the zebra attacks you, now you're worried you're going to run into a zebra again, and so you're experiencing all this anxiety. The zebra will feel no anxiety because it's not thinking about, oh, this is going to happen again. But what happens is that as soon as they start to smell a lion, the anxiety will come up and they'll run. So it happens, but they have to actually have some reality to it. For us, most of our stress is we keep imagining what's going to happen in the future. We keep living in the past, what's going on in the past. This is why for many people, Eckhart Tolle became very popular with The Power of Now, is how to be in present time. And when you're in present time, you're not being filled with all these limiting thoughts about the worst that can happen in the future, the worst that can happen in the past. But once again, when you look at these spiritual teachers, which is be in the now and be positive, we aren't in the now most of the time. So you have to be what you are and come back into the now. And that's where, again, the secret behind the secret is learn to process the negative emotions, not just focus on what you want, like we're just talking about, but also become aware of negative emotions, which is become aware of the part of you subconsciously that's saying, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. So consciously, we might be focusing on the positive, but if we're stressed and we're not aware that we're angry and upset or hurt or embarrassed or feeling shame or any of these emotions, they're all buried in the subconscious, because if we were to reveal them, we would be seen as less than. So we push them down. And so while they're being pushed down, they're actually creating situations. And the way I look at it is you're creating situations to make you feel those feelings so that you can finally heal them. That's my outlook. That's not everybody's, but that's the thing, is that when we push emotions down, we will keep being attracted to situations to make us feel those emotions so that we can then process them and come back to our true self. But what happens in our culture today, because we have so much stimulation, what happens is when we have these negative emotions, we just go and eat a bunch of food, or we go get in a big argument, or we go watch TV, or we do something to distract our attention from feeling those feelings. Now, again, when I say this, you have to remember there's gender intelligence here, which is if it's moderate stress, men don't need to process their feelings of moderate stress. It's high stress. Stuff will come up inside of a man. And if a man is fortunate enough to have a lot of love in his life from a woman, then what will happen is the traumas of his past, of his childhood, when he did need to process feelings, when he did have all these strong emotions, that needs to be processed and it will come up. But for women, their whole lives, they will have emotional suppression going on. And for men, it's only under higher stress that men will suppress what comes up. And the whole key point here is that even if you're not in real danger in the now, what will happen is if you're a woman and you're spending too much time expressing your male side qualities and not enough your female side qualities, then your hormones will be out of balance. And even though you're safe, your brain will think you're in danger. Your brain will interpret your emotions just as your thoughts affect your emotions. Your thoughts affect your emotions and your hormones. Your hormones will affect your feelings and your thought. So when you have a stress hormone, we all know this, completely hijacks your thinking, causes your brain to focus on negativity rather than positivity. So learning to become conscious of that which is keeping us from being positive is connecting with the part of us which is positive. So if you have a mistake, I always talk about this in terms of why it's important that people have the freedom to make mistakes. If you don't have the freedom to make mistakes, you can't learn from your mistakes. Because when I make a mistake, how do I know it's a mistake? Because I'm connecting with my higher intelligence that says, don't do that again. That's why one of the deepest issues inside is to be able to feel and release shame. Shame is basically saying, I'm better than that. You're connecting to your higher self when you're feeling shame, if you give yourself love at that time and not beat yourself up. See, to love yourself when you're feeling inadequate or unworthy, you feel shame. When you're loving yourself at that time, who's loving you? It's your higher self, and it's loving you because it says, don't judge yourself just by what just happened. You're much better than that, and you deserve more, and you deserve love so you can express the part of you which is better than that. So self-forgiveness is so, so important for us to grow always to a higher level, because the part of us that can forgive ourselves is our higher self or our soul. So processing negative emotions is bringing your consciousness, awareness to the part of you that's believing lies. And how do you know? If you recognize it's a lie, then you're connecting with your higher self, which can then change it automatically. And you can help that process by being conscious of it. So any chance of getting your products, Lithium, in the UK, or do they have similar products? No, they've made it illegal there to sell. It's legal to buy in America and use in UK. Some people are saying that you should be able to buy it online. I use Shopify, and I've been told that I can't do it. but I'm investigating this now because the law is in England, for example, and in Europe, is that you can't buy it in England, you can't buy it in Europe. But if you buy it in America, it's fine to use in UK. So if you have a friend in America, you can always ask him to buy it and mail it to you. Just mail it to you. But I can't mail it to you as a company, as Shopify sends it off, according to some people I'm hearing from right now. I'm trying to change that, see if there's another way around it. This is good. I live near Ashland, Oregon, which is where I go on vacations. There's Lithium Springs there. There's a water fountain in the park where people used to drink the Lithium water. So here's a fun story. I'm aware of that, and I go there, and I do the Lithium Springs. It's wonderful, and I drink the water. So one day I was in the park there. It was the first year that Men Are From Mars had come out, and it wasn't yet super famous, and it took a year before it became super famous. It become number one on New York Times. It was like a year out there before it happened. It was a word-of-mouth phenomenon. And it was one of the only times, there's been a few other times, that somebody who I happened upon was reading my book, and it was at Lithium Springs. And I was just walking along with Bonnie, and we saw this woman, and she's reading this book on this bench, and it's Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. It was like so exciting. And so once again, you see how things line up, synchronicities. Here I'm at my favorite supplement of all, which is lithium, and it's at Lithium Springs that I found a woman, before Men Are From Mars was famous, was already reading my book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. So that was memorable for me. The other time, which is interesting, that I bumped into somebody just having my book was I was in Delhi, India. Now, India is chaotic, okay, in Delhi. The traffic is crazy, the pollution is crazy, and I'm in a taxi, and somebody knocks on the window with my book, selling my book, It's like, stop your wife from, no more complaining in relationships, buy this book. And he had my book. So that's one of the few times I actually bumped into somebody. I've seen it on planes many times, but just to be out in the spring. So lithium is a magical substance as far as I'm concerned. And there's the Mars lithium orotate, the Venus lithium orotate. It's the same lithium orotate, but the additional ingredients that are in it are a little more skewed towards men, a little bit more skewed towards women. They're all pretty much universal. But there's a sense of a little difference. But it's not a major difference. So if a woman was to take the Mars orotate, you're not going to grow a beard. It's not going to cause testosterone. But we did do a test with people, and men always felt energized and positive, and women felt more relaxed. And when women took the men's, they basically were talking, they weren't talking about how much more relaxed they were, but they were feeling relaxed, but a bit more energized. So anyway, it's really the ideal setting, whether you take one for the other. But we created that distinction just because I'm Mars Venus, and you can lean a little bit more on the left, lean a little bit more on the right, so to speak. I think we've had a good day. Is there any more questions that people have? I'm happy to look at them. I'm really happy about the woman taking the antidepressants. It's really, really just so sad people won't take the risk to just titrate off. Ask your doctor, and if your doctor says, no, you should always be on it, find another doctor. Get a second opinion. There's so many holistic doctors that know how to guide you to titrate off of your antidepressant. You just need to go slow with it, because antidepressants don't give you what you need. They repress. They help your brain adapt in ways that aren't natural, so you don't feel what you feel. So what you want is to give your brain a chance to heal by taking this substance along with all the other ingredients. And can you do it even if you are doing an antidepressant? Yes. All you're doing is putting essential minerals into your body. Okay. This is not a drug. I tell you one example I have. I was on vacation, and of course I travel. If I bring anything, I'd be traveling with this one. It's just I want my brain to continue growing, not shrinking. And so I had it with me, and I was having dinner and meeting this man there, and he had a son who has severe ADD, and I mean very severe. I'm not going to go into all the details of what he was going through, but he literally was having big problems. We'll say that. And so I said to the father, first of all, I explained to the child what ADD was and what he needed, and it was this substance, and I'm going to give it to him. It's just a deprivation of this substance. Not enough. See, if you have not enough vitamin C, you'll get scurvy. See, this is an idea. You have essential needs, and if you don't fulfill those essential needs, some kind of disease will occur. And so the essential need that I see for people with issues in their brain and so forth is going to be lots of things, but one of essential is lithium. And it's so much missing because we live in this high-stress environment that depletes us very quickly of lithium. So here's this little boy, and I gave him the pills, and within 2 days, right away, instantly, there was a huge change. And the father was so thankful, whatever. I gave him my bottle. I said, go ahead and take this home. And I met the guy 6 months later, and I said, how did it last? Did it last? He says, well, it didn't really last. I said, well, what happened? He said, well, you recommended all these supplements, like Berberine was another one I recommended, and like a few other things, but the lithium is the key factor here. And he said, well, I went to my doctor. I told him about these supplements you recommended. And he said, oh, yeah, they're all good except for lithium. You have to be careful. You have to get blood tests to make sure you don't get too much lithium in your body. And the results went away. I said, that's the one thing I told you. The other things are helpful. This is the thing your child is missing. This is an essential thing for the brain to function, and you're not giving it to your child. So that was very sad, and I don't know what happened after that. He said, okay, I'll buy lithium. I never saw him again. But the reality, what I see again and again and again, is it becomes just a steady thing. Make sure you're getting enough lithium into your brain. Lithium orotate, because there's lithium carbonate, lithium citrate, a lot of different types of lithium. This is the one that I have been recommending for over 25 years, only positive results. And if you're a guy and you have no mood swings, you're not going to notice something right away, okay? But when you're stressed, you'll notice that you're not as stressed. But some guys are so numb to their feelings that they don't know when they're stressed, okay? And sometimes I don't know when I'm stressed. I say it because if I start looking at anything being negative, if I start having negative thoughts, then I have to realize, oh, I have a hormonal imbalance going on here. What's going on inside my body? And let me process whatever negativity is there to come back to the positive. So what's so interesting is kind of opposed to people who do positive thinking. What I have is positive attitude towards looking for whatever possible negative emotion I might be experiencing inside so that I can then feel it and then come back to feeling my positive emotions even more, as opposed to becoming gradually number and number as we get older. Jasmine says, I'd love to hear your thoughts on autism and nutrition. I have a 3-year-old son on the spectrum, and I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to make sure he's getting all the nutrition and supplements he needs. There's a lot of people, and I don't know if you're doing this, a lot of people already specialize in this. I actually have a whole book on my treatment plan, and I'd never published it because I don't want to get sued. I don't know if I've told this story, but I used to cure my Parkinson's. I got really interested in wellness, alternative wellness, and I bought a ranch and made a healing center out of it for about 10 years, 15 years, something like that. And I had all these technologies to help make the brain healthier. And I brought up autistic kids for free on the weekend to do these treatments. And the treatments have a lot to do with hot water. Okay, this is like the ancient treatments from Germany is hot water therapy. You want to heat up the temperature in the brain to 103 degrees, and you generate a fever, and the brain starts healing autism, ADD, anything. If you can it detoxifies. The most powerful thing to detoxify your system is far infrared saunas or hot baths. There was one study that was done in England, and they just took the kids, and they said that the improvements dramatically occurred just putting a kid for 30 minutes in a hot bath and not burning hot or anything. And they saw there was dramatic improvement. Well, why aren't we telling that to everybody? Now, what I did is something way beyond that. I did write about it to some extent, the process. It's in my book. You should order my book called, it's right there, the green one. What is it? Staying Focused in a Hyper World, Solutions for ADD and Depression and Overwhelm, I think is the subtitle. But anyway, it's Staying Focused in a Hyper World. That has the answer to your question, is understanding the supplements necessary and the treatments. So I created this wellness center, and for kids with autism, the mother had to come, and the doctor they had to have a doctor. Yeah, hot baths and showers, very, very important. So I'll give you a little bit more tips on this. This is ancient German remedy. If you go to these German spas, they'll tend to be, one area of hot water will be around 97 degrees, mineral water that's hot, and 97 degrees. Then you spend 20 minutes there. Then you go to the next one is 101 degrees. And then you go to the next one, which is 103 degrees. And you sit in that, you gradually do it over an hour, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. It takes time to sort of cook the chicken. You don't just immediately heat the chicken up and it's done. It slowly builds up to where your brain heats up as well. And you want to get ideally up the last 20 minutes at 103 degrees, which is too hot unless you're already adjusted to the heat and so forth. And I saw kids doing this formula along with some good supplements, and they had complete reversal of autism. One of the treatments that I recommend in that book as well is you can get it online. You make your own fresh yogurt. It's called Bravo yogurt. And they teach you how to make it, and you get the starter for it, and you make it. And they'll make it for you if you want to pay the money for it, and they'll ship it to you. Or you can make it yourself. But it's fresh yogurt with a whole wider range of probiotics in it that was really good for gut health. So the way I did it, recommended in my book, and how I got mothers telling me it cured their children's autism was you lie in the bathtub at around 97 degrees for 20 minutes. Then you're getting closer to 20 minutes, you start raising the temperature up. You have a thermometer, and you get it up to 101 degrees, 20 minutes around 101 degrees. And then after that, you're 20 minutes at around 101 degrees. Then you do for 20 minutes at 103 degrees. And this is the treatment, and 3 months, it heals the brain. It's a difficult treatment to do. Now, for some autistic kids, and you don't do it every day, you do it every other day, it's producing what's called heat shock proteins. Heat shock proteins will be the medicine of the future. They're learning all about HSPs, heat shock proteins that restore brain function and body function of proteins. So that's really, you do that every day, not every day. It's an interesting reason for that, but it's a long talk. Now, you can get this similar results as with, what's the name of the company? It's called Relax, RELAX, sauna.com, Relax Sauna. And it's not too expensive, not real cheap, but it's a little box you sit in that you can put in your room easy, flexible material with reflective material on the inside, and it's got these infrared lights at a certain frequency that within 15 minutes you'll get a full sweat. 20 minutes, you get tremendous detoxification, and your head is out, but you're heating up your body, so it will gradually heat up your brain. And what you want ideally is like 40 minutes to an hour. But after the first 20 minutes and you get a sweat, then you unzip it so it's open and it's not that hot, okay? It's not that hot, so it's easy to endure. And yet the light is still heating up the body, because it takes a good hour to heat up the body to get the brain, if you can do that. So you can do, watch video games or play music or have conversations, listen, to a podcast. But you stay in that heat for an hour, you'll get it to 103 degrees in your brain, and that will cause the heat shock proteins. This is why people who do the cold plunges, why that's so good for them if you're able to do the cold plunges, is when you hit cold, your body then, heats up. Your body has to generate heat in order to find homeostasis. And so it produces these heat shock proteins. But you can also just be in the heat, and the infrared heat is not hard to do. It's not like a sauna, which the room heats up and that heats you up. No, it's the infrared light goes into your body and you heat up from the inside. And it's more detoxifying than any detox diet you could ever go on. And it's also more detoxifying than, let's say you're doing athletics and you're jogging and you're sweating. There's no toxins coming out. That's not detoxifying. It's good to exercise, but it's not detoxifying you. It's these infrared saunas. And the best that I found is relaxed sauna. There's all these Chinese ripoffs, but they don't have the same infrared light frequency. That's their proprietary result. So you're not going to get this amazing result right away. And he's been promoting this for over 25 years, 30 years. It's a solid product, relaxed sauna. So you can go on there and check that out. I would get that right away. And and so a child would be sitting in it, and you have to, I'm not sure how you work it out. There's another company that he may do it as well, because I like his frequencies, but where you can just lie down and have your head out, and it's something around your body like that, and it heats up. So the idea is many different ways to heat up your brain, and that will help restore functioning in your brain, along with what I found to be the case is lithium orotate. So the reason I don't focus on autism, I wrote the whole book. I didn't want to publish it because then people would be asking me questions. I'd be giving advice and they put me in jail, or I'd be sued. Because what happened is with my wellness center, I was making it free, but it was expensive for somebody to travel there, get a hotel room, have their doctor be there. I wasn't a doctor, so I'm promoting this. And so after a few of those, I got a call from one of the fathers. The mother brought the child across the country with a doctor. He disapproved. He called me. He said he's a lawyer. He's going to sue me, and I'll never see the light of day. And that's very scary, because you can sue anybody for anything, and they can put me in front of a jury and say, he has no credentials. He hasn't done this. No one has a cure for this. And how dare him do this? And so you get sued, and you go through all the process of that. And so he's telling me this, but just this was like the second day the child had been there, and he started learning to talk. Automatically, he just started talking. And so fortunately, he was on the phone, and the mother was there, and the mother handed the phone to her son, and the boy who'd never talked before said, "Daddy, I miss you. I love you, Daddy." Okay, so that was the end of the lawsuit. But it was definitely a message from God, the universe. John, you cannot go down this road. You can tell people about it, but you can't do it. You could be sued for that. And I say I'm being sued all the time. Well, not all the time, but I have been sued several times just for making a comment, whatever. And I never have to pay out because I didn't do anything wrong, but hire a lawyer and go through that whole process. It's ridiculous. Okay, so question here from Angela. Do you think that we as humans do something to attract bad people or circumstances in our lives, John? What can we do to avoid these kind of lessons? Well, the whole idea of the secret behind the secret is yes, if you don't process the negative emotions, we will tend to be attracted to situations to force us to feel those negative emotions. Now, where I got that idea, this is all my own personal experience of life, is one day I was, I'd been a monk for 9 years, so I was a master of suppression of emotions so I could go to my higher self. And that is one way to get to your higher self, but then you have to bring it down and integrate it. So I was suppressing a lot of upset. It was like a turmoil was inside of me, and I was being positive about it, but there was this tension in my body. It was huge, and I wasn't even aware of it. And this is back when I was early stages, and I was promoting myself, had a brochure for my little workshop that I was teaching. And I went to the place to print it up, to distribute the brochure. And right as I got to the corner of where the store was, like Kinko's or something like that, right as I got to that corner, there was, at an intersection, there was a full head-on collision. Two cars ran into each other, full normal speed. And it was massive. I've never experienced anything, but it was such a huge shock and loud noise, big bang. I felt so good after that. Seeing that huge stress out there helped me release what was inside of me. So I had attracted a situation to express out loud what was going on inside of me and created a release. And then from that point, I've seen over and over, for me, every situation that causes stress inside of me becomes a pathway back to experiencing greater wisdom, greater understanding, or greater love. It's the traumas outside of me, the challenges outside of me, help me to feel more deeply what's in my subconscious mind and my unconscious mind. So we will attract situations to help us to experience what we're feeling inside. And one of my books, which is called What You Feel, You Can Heal, my first book, I have these little cartoon characters. And in that, one of the cartoon characters, there's one that says hate, one that says fear, one that says sadness, one that says love. These are different emotions. And they're all sitting outside of the house, waiting to come in, knocking on the door to come in. Okay, so if you don't answer those little emotions and you don't answer them, then they have to knock harder. And you don't answer that, then they have to knock harder and harder and harder. So you will keep repeating the lessons you don't learn from over and over and over, and they'll get bigger and bigger and bigger so you can see them until you finally surrender to them and surrender to feel them. Surrender your resistance to acknowledging what you feel inside. I just said that phrase because I was looking in this book and I was looking at some of the things I wrote a long time ago, and the difference between surrender and submission, is to surrender is to give up your resistance to something. To submit is to allow someone to oppress you, take control over you. But to surrender is to let go of your resistance to what's happening inside of yourself. And when you can let go of that, then you stop resisting the outer world, but you want to create the outer world. So this is this perplexing, paradoxical idea, which is what you resist will persist in your life. But you only resist those things you don't want. And so if I resist the things I don't want, then I'm going to keep getting what I don't want. So one of the ways we do to resist getting what we want, to not resist what we don't want, is we stop wanting. See, that's the old thing, which is if you want to be happy, just don't want. If you don't have any desires, then you don't resist anything. You're in a non-resistant place. No desires is peacefulness, but it's death, because life is motivated. The energy flows through us through desire. Desire is passion. It's wanting, but it's not clinging. Clinging is different. Clinging is resisting. If I'm clinging in my relationship, I'm resisting my partner, okay? I demand more from them. I'm needy of them. I'm wanting what they're not able to give me in that moment. And so I'm making them wrong and I'm resisting them. So where you have resistance, it's going to keep persisting. That's the idea. So if you have resistance, stop resisting your resistance. Surrender to feel what you feel. Let go of your negative emotions. And now you embrace your true self, which is loving and positive, which has faith. And now you go from I ask, which means I'm wanting, to believing. The soul has the knowledge contained within the desire for something, if it's a desire based upon a soul need. If it's a true desire based upon what you truly need and you want it, when you feel that want, instead of what you don't want, you feel what you want, contained within the desire is the seed of knowing you can have it, and knowing how to get it, and having the feeling of confidence that I can have that. And that's when you get down to your soul desires. So that was a book idea in this book, which is called Soul Desire. And I remember being on an Oprah show, and Oprah was saying, she really liked that idea. And she was saying, so John talks about your soul desire. Does everybody understand what a soul desire is? And they all raised their hand. She went, oh, okay, I guess everybody knows that. But a soul desire is a desire that's aligned with your true self, as opposed to, if I see something, I suddenly want it. Okay, that's the senses wanting to have it. It's not like I don't always indulge that, but it's if I see somebody drinking a glass of apple juice, I think I want apple juice, and then now I'll go, but wait a second, apple juice causes for me, it's just the same thing as a Coca-Cola, same amount of sugar. It will cause blood sugar levels to go up, blood sugar levels crash, and it will affect my mood. So I've had that experience enough in my life where I don't really need to have juices or soft drinks. I mean, I grew up on Coca-Cola, and that was a big thing to not need Coca-Cola. I was a smoker as a teenager. To give up smoking, that was a hard one to give up because it's so addictive. Negative emotions are addictive. So it's just like, because they make us feel, first of all, they make us feel right. We feel justified. We feel entitled. We feel powerful, some of the negative emotions. So we want to hold on to them as opposed to let them go. Come back to your true self and feel the positive emotions. Feel what you positively want. Let your wants be aligned with what you truly need and what's most important to you. And we don't always know that, but we gradually learn it. Part of manifesting, my daughter manifested her house that she's in. We looked for houses for 2 years. On Sunday, it was like my father-daughter thing. What I did with her is we go shopping for houses within a price range that we could afford and so forth. And we just said, now let's just keep looking and defining clearly, get a clear picture of what is it that I like, what is it I don't like, what is it I'm wanting, what is it I need, what's most important to me. And we could only have that by going and looking at all these houses and clearly having a picture, okay, what I like, what I don't like, what I want, what I could have, what I don't have to have. That happens in the dating process by dating a lot of people from the expectation I'm doing this as a learning process to clarify what I'm liking and what I don't like. And as opposed to just sitting back with your list of things you want that you've written out intellectually. No, you've got to experience what you're liking and what you're not liking, what you're enjoying, what you have in this person, what you don't have in this person, what you want in your relationships, what you don't want in your relationships. It has to be an experience. It starts out as like, write it out, be clear about it. That's good, but actually experience it. And so you can think of the dating process as trial and error until your vision becomes very, very clear and on a fully felt level of what you're wanting and needing and what's most important to you. And you'll attract it into your life. And when you process it, you come back to feeling what you need and that you deserve it and what it would feel like if you had it. You let yourself feel that. And that's part of the feeling letter process. Let's see, we started at 10. This is now already 2 hours. So, I've already talked about the feeling letter process, but when you use the app, what it does, you ask a few questions, the Heart Space app. Here's Gabriella. Thank you for joining us. John, which book teaches how to let go of the feelings once you have felt them? I don't understand why many people just drown in their emotions, but they do. They can't seem to let them go. Well, the first book, it's a 1 hour read is What You Feel You Can Heal. It's the first one I wrote on this. It's the foundation of all my success. Is that, yes, I manifest, I imagine, I do all these processes, but I also let myself feel in the moment whatever's causing negative emotions. And that's in that book, What You Feel You Can Heal. But you have to learn how to process it. So if you feel happy all the time, there's no happy all the time. There's also frustrations, there's disappointments, there's anger, there's fears, and you're pushing it down. So whatever you're pushing down, start becoming conscious and aware of it. But you could be aware of, let's say somebody's feeling really sad. Okay, so you're feeling sad. Okay, so feel it. Feel how painful it is. Ask yourself, why am I feeling it? Ask yourself, what is it I'm wanting that I don't have? What do I want to have? All this exploration around that feeling of sadness, and it will go away. But in most cases, it doesn't, because the sadness is built upon a part of you is afraid. See, if you're feeling sad, but then you suddenly felt, okay, I just lost all this money, I feel sad, but you had total confidence that, but I'll get it tomorrow. I'm going to get it tomorrow. No, it's because you're also afraid I'm going to stay in this place and I can't make the money again and I won't have the money in the future. So if you're sad and you can't, and you feel it and you can't let go of it, it's because there's another emotion that needs to be felt. How often do you have these live programs? I've learned a lot and want to watch more. Do you have any past recordings I can watch? Yes, if you go to John Gray, Mars, Venus, you'll see hundreds of hours of me on YouTube. Go to John Gray, Mars, Venus on YouTube. And subscribe and follow, and you'll get announcements when it's there. And it's every week I do too. And there's so many wonderful topics, and you can go to those. But keep in mind, the very best thing is, this is the knowledge base, is we do have our Mars-Venus coaching program. And to do the Mars-Venus coaching program is live with somebody, or to do our 6-week coaching program, which allows you to interact with Rich and John Gray videos as homework assignments and put all this into practice, working with other people. So you're having that human interaction. That's the real key to this. And thank you all so much for your acknowledgments. I appreciate that. The insights that you let me know you're getting. That's also very helpful today we've been talking about the secret behind the secret. Oh, I am being corrected here by my producer. I go live twice a week on Tuesdays and on Thursdays. And if you can't see it on live, of course, it goes into the recording, and that's good. You can go back and listen to something again if it's an important point for you and so forth. I'm not always perfectly as clear as when I put it in a book. Because when I put my ideas in a book, I'll edit them and I'll refine them and I'll put them in an order. But part of what you get with these talks is a good direction, good insight, and an example. You know, we all need to have examples of happy, fulfilled people in their lives who are authentic, who are there, who reveal the truth of who they are. It's so much of the world so much of online is just fake, fake, fake. You know, you see someone they look so happy and whatever, but you don't see them, you know, when they're not happy. And if I'm not happy, I tell you about it. And then you get to see, gee, this guy just lost $3 million or $15 million and he's all upset about it. But then look, he's feeling optimistic and positive about the future. Oh, he just had an argument with his wife, but how did they solve it? How did they resolve it? You know, we need to see, you know, real people, not just platitudes and fake and everything. And then we also need the knowledge to correctly interpret, which is a lot of what Mars, Venus, and gender intelligence is so we can just know what we don't know, which can make it so much better. But there is this issue of being able to talk with other people and share what's going on with you with somebody who has this knowledge, as opposed to somebody who gives you bad advice or makes you wrong or thinks you're foolish or why would you feel that way, as opposed to understanding why you feel that way and how do you process it, how do you get through it, what are the mistakes you're making, how do you correct them, what are your goals, are you having somebody acknowledge you for achieving your goals, being realistic in your goals. You know, this is all what coaching is about. And, you know, we had Rich was here today and he had to move on because he's coaching somebody right now and we've gone overtime. So here's Gabriella. We love the ramble here, John. You're a treasure trove. By the way, you used to buy orchids for Bonnie at my booth at the Marin Farmers Market. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, orchids are so good, and they're like a magic flower, and you have to be careful you don't overwater them. That's what I learned. You can kill an orchid right away if you overwater it. And this is kind of like love bombing and relationships. You know, when you're dating and somebody just goes overwhelmed. It's kind of like they're done, you know, that's their best, they do it, and then they move on to the next and move on to the next. So here we are. I want to just take a mention on the importance of apps. You know, the dating apps, they have positives and negatives. And what's good about dating apps is that for many people, not everybody, it creates more opportunities to at least practice your relationship skills. But what you want is don't wait for the perfect person. Be with the wrong person, practice your dating skills, focus afterwards, processing your feelings and what you like, what you don't like, your feelings of discouragement or your feelings of appreciation, defining it again and again until clarity comes about. And you will then attract a situation in your life so you can grab on it right away and you have that clarity and you understand this is what I want. And in terms of relationships, getting what you want, there's also going to be things you don't want. There's no perfect relationship. And there's going to be things you don't want as well. And that's part of life. And so, but when you measure, but this is what's most important to me, then if there's this quality over here, I don't care about that. You know, I know what I want as a man, what's most important to me. And if I get that, I can have a lot of things that be nice to have that I don't have. And that's not a problem for me. It's like, I focus on what's most important. And that's why we talk about Mars, Venus, what's most important for women today, particularly when they don't need men as much. Well, what do you need to grow in love? What you need are all these practical techniques that we provide through the Mars, Venus message. So I want to thank you all for joining me, listening to all these ideas that go along with the secret behind the secret, which is summed up, which is positive thinking is good, but also having a positive attitude about negative feelings is also good, so you can feel what's getting in the way of you receiving what it is that you deserve. And learning to process your feelings through exploration helps you come back to clarity and knowing what you want, being connected to your heart, being grateful for what you have today, appreciating what you have today, while also wanting more. That's a beautiful balance. And that was the theme in this book, which is how to get what you want and want what you have. Gratitude plus wanting more. Having trust that you're going to receive more because you have so much now. But how do you fully feel what you have now and be grateful for what you have now? It's being able to fully feel the negative emotions. That's why often when people have some dangerous thing happens, where you have tremendous fear and danger happens, you're so grateful afterwards just for being alive. See, it opens your heart to fully feeling. And why does negativity allow us to fully feel? It's because the avoidance of negativity is what causes us to not feel. So when we embrace the negative emotions that we're suppressing, now we're able to fully feel the positive on the other side of it. And from the positive side of us, that's where we want to feel like, and now feeling grateful for what I have. What else do I want? What else do I want? And I have to say, there's some people who just say, oh no, I have it all, I don't want more. You won't have more, and your life force will go down. You're in denial of what it is that you're missing in your life, because there's always more to come. And if there's more to come, then you're missing something. So become aware of the negative, feel it, let it go, become more conscious of what you're wanting, and feel gratitude for what you have, and you will start to feel love for what you have, and love more in your relationships. So thank you so much for joining me on our day of The Secret Behind the Secret. I think it's a book I need to write. Thank you all for joining me, and have a great day.
Thank you for watching the Shades of Grey podcast with Dr. John Gray, best-selling author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And follow Dr. Gray on all social media platforms for more timeless relationship wisdom. For free tools to create deeper love and better communication, visit marsvenus.com and take Dr. Gray's free course, How to Get Everything You Want in Relationships. And don't miss next week's episode of the Shades of Grey podcast, where understanding brings us closer together.